Yes, I know it's a short and sweet one today, but next in the house we have got CyberFox. And from CyberFox, we have Jonathan Colon, who is their sales engineer. I will be joining Jonathan here for Q&A. So again, keep those questions coming in hot, and we'll address as many as we can after Jonathan presents. He's also got a little bit of a demo here. So, all right, Jonathan, why don't you kick it off and make the magic happen, if you will.
All right. Thanks, Mackenzie. Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I just wanted to talk about securing an organization and have a conversation around how we can manage security using a defense and layer approach. So, how we can stack different practices and tools to secure an environment down and try to mitigate a lot of the risk of the various attack or threat vectors that are out there. Um, just a little bit about CyberFox. So we are a cybersecurity solutions provider based out of Tampa, Florida, and our goal is to eliminate a lot of the inefficiencies and security gaps when it comes to password management and privilege access. So we do have two solutions. That's going to be Auto Elevate, our privilege access management solution. This enables you to easily remove local admin rights and manage those privileges remotely and have a full audit trail of what's going on. And then we do have Password Boss. So, Password Boss is our password manager, and it enables you to secure passwords and sensitive items, which is encrypted vaults. Has some dark web scanning with it to alert you if your password's been part of a breach. Um, and then you also have the option to safely and quickly share passwords with other members of your team. Now, as a sales engineer here at CyberFox, part of my role is to have those conversations and really just be an educator when it comes to talking of IT professionals of the current security problems and encourage the adoption of fundamental basic security practices. And I can tell you it's a little scary, but majority of companies out there and the ones that I talk to aren't really doing this. So it's a conversation that has to be had. Now, the basic practice to follow is going to be restricting admin accounts. The idea is that nobody should be having admin, especially when they're just logging in, doing normal work. And it's really something that can enable hackers to do a lot of damage in an environment. So it's widely used in environments. It's one of the easiest things you can start minimizing and closing up those attack vectors. Now, not having admin accounts will plug in so many security holes in a Windows environment and is actually and absolutely critical to stopping these attacks. It really just boils down to being rooted in the old ways, convenience. Maybe as an IT professional, you inherited the role of managing an environment, and it was just a way for you to quickly just give those end users the ability to do elevations when they need it. And you'll be really surprised. There's a lot of stuff out there that need elevation. Um, Simple application updates, software installations, system changes. All of those do need privilege to be done. So it might save an IT team time to just give the end users the ability to do it themselves. But there is a better and safer route to go about this, and that's by implementing a PAM solution. Now, one of the common misconceptions I hear a lot by organizations is thinking, I'm not a huge enterprise. I'm just a small business. I doubt I'll be targeted, that kind of stuff. And they're not wrong when it comes to the huge data breaches you see in the news, but it's not the big game hunters we should be worried about. Most attackers are opportunists. They're just playing a numbers game. It's usually an average Joe, someone who's just trying to make money, and they get a list of random emails and names, and they conduct mass phishing campaigns. They're just looking to get lucky. So if a company doesn't have the proper security measures in place, they'll get attacked. It's just as simple as that. It doesn't matter if you're 5% person business or you employ thousands of employees. For a little bit of context, small to medium businesses make up most of the world's economy and are responsible for more than 50% of employment. What that means is that there is a big group of companies to attack who aren't in the position to have the capital and resources to implement the most advanced security tools or have a around the clock SOC team to protect themselves. And one of the easiest routes for a hacker to get in and gain access is going to be uh, top attack patterns that are, you know, prevalent in most security breaches. That's going to be social engineering, system intrusion, basic web application attacks. One of the biggest attack vectors for an organization is also going to be the employees. More than 90% of cyber attacks rely on some sort of social engineering techniques. This means that cybercriminals don't have to use advanced coding skills or sophisticated software to gain unauthorized access into a system, but rather just exploiting the human vulnerabilities, your trust, your curiosity, your fear. They usually just start by tricking someone to give them access, and once they're in, they're looking for easy ways to move around the environment and conduct these malicious attacks. Some of the things they can exploit are going to be native Windows applications. So they're binaries, DLL files, to perform something called living off the land attacks and getting around application controls. Some other things, they're looking for user account controller UAC to be turned off or too low. This is a Windows security feature which is designed to protect the operating system from unauthorized changes. Usually it's a little annoying as an IT professional or an end user to get the pop-ups and be stopped every time something needs privilege, but that is what it's there for. It's there to protect the system. Another thing, users with local admin access. Again, this is one of the biggest attack surface areas. And if you arm them with admin privilege, they have full unrestricted access within that machine. One I like to talk about is shared admin accounts. So anytime you put shared and admin in a sentence, it usually isn't a great idea. Not only will they have local admin access to one computer, but most of the time, those accounts are placed on every computer to make it easier to manage them. Last one is going to be passwords in plain text. This is an obvious risk, but it still happens. Most IT professionals are really conscious about this and don't do it, but end users still don't see the big deal with this. You know, they throw a password on a notepad or they write it down, and using a password manager, especially one like our tool, Password Boss, allows these users to keep their business and personal passwords separate and be alerted when their credentials are ever part of a breach. Okay, some other things to talk about. Right here, we have a circle of defense strategy. That's what's highlighted with this image here. The thing is, most SMBs, they employ most of the world. They can't have a dedicated security team or dedicate a lot of time and money to cybersecurity, and they can't withstand a devastation following an attack. So, what should they do? What can they do? Surprisingly enough, it's just going to be protecting against or securing those basic security practices. So, a vast majority of attacks, just by putting those basic practice in place and those tools, those attack vectors will be closed or harder to um, get into. Now, the practices like highlighting importance of cybersecurity, building end users awareness through training or through just conversations like this help make life harder for attackers to trick them into giving access or credentials. Another thing is applying zero trust policies. So, limiting the impact of an attack by making sure your systems are locked down as much as possible and least privilege is being used. All of that helps close those attack vectors in this outer layer here. So this is where your end users live. And this is where a PAM solution and a password manager comes into play. So privileged access management is crucial in following an approach that helps protect sensitive systems by controlling and monitoring the accounts with elevated access and what's being done. So instead of giving end users more permissions than they need, PAM enforces the principles of least privilege, ensuring that employees only have access to what's necessary for their role, which reduces the risk and the amount of damage that can be done. Um, Talking about this outer layer here, we've learned that most malwares and attacks require some sort of initial access. So, like something the end user has to do in order for them to get in or conduct the attack. So, what we want to do is take away the main thing they're using to gain a foothold, and that's going to be credentials and privilege. Um, Quick analogy just to really cement this concept. Think about it like this: your computer is going to be like your home. You have your front door, you have your windows, and obviously you have all the stuff that you own and want to protect inside. The middle layers here, your EDRs and your SIEMs, those act like a home security system with motion sensors and cameras. Really, it's for if someone breaks in, it can detect them, record their actions, and usually alert you or the police in this example to respond. But that is one of the biggest issues. It's reactive, the response time. By the time you actually have the ability to mitigate that risk or stop that attack, they may have already taken something valuable or caused damage. Now, imagine instead of alerting the EDR security systems, they just have the key to the front door. So they stole those credentials and walked right in. And it happens to be an admin privileged account. Now they can just circumvent a lot of these inner layers and exploit all the vulnerabilities that are there. So having additional security protocols or controls like a password management keeps those credentials safe. And then the privilege access management will stop them from moving around the environment and conducting those elevated attacks. So you're going to make it a lot harder for them to do what they want by gaining control of this outer layer. Couple things to just point out here, those bullet points right there. So 9 out of 10 successful breaches are abuse of privilege. And that can be just someone with privilege, like an end user, clicking on a malicious link, and that was used to install the malware. 8 out of 10 are password compromises, and over 70% of Windows vulnerabilities are mitigated if you just remove admin privilege. Now, that can change a little bit depending on the Windows updates and them plugging up these uh, attack vectors, but very scary numbers. Easiest thing you can do is just really control privilege and control those credentials. Now with this being said, I do want to quickly just run through a demo of our PAM solution just so you can see how it works and how it simplifies the operations for IT, helps them find privileged accounts, demote them down to standard, and automate that elevation approvals when end users need it. So I'm going to quickly just transition over to that. Okay, so right here, just looking at Auto Elevate in the admin portal, this is going to be the dashboard. This gives you a quick high-level overview of what's going on in the environment for your organization. So you'll see systems with UAC too low or off. This, again, is user account control. This is how we control who or what does things with elevation. We'll also highlight admin privileges, those accounts that are out there with that admin account. Now go into the computers tab here. This is where you can manage all your computers. Things I just really want to highlight are going to be UAC settings. So we will let you know what UAC is set to. On and dim level 3, level 4 is going to be our recommended settings and Microsoft's recommended settings. So having it at this level, make sure we capture everything that's being done or attempted to be done with privilege. Over here, we will also tell you the admin members. So Auto Elevate will empower you to find those local admin accounts, ones that might be missed, and allow you to demote these down to standard. You can do that by these controls right here. So here, if UAC was off or too low, you can actually set that from here without having to go to the machine or push out that policy. And remove admin privilege. This is where you can enable it It will demote down those accounts to standard and keep that group cleaned up for you. Some other things. So what happens when we remove local admin rights? All of these events will either become an issue that needs to be solved manually or a ticket. So building rules around these events will give end users the privilege when they need it and control it with automation. Some things here. So let's say I want to build a rule around this. I'm going to just clean up this view, make it easier to see. And then let's say we want to create a rule off this Java installation or update. Scrolling down here, this is how you can really customize these rules or policies to make it as restrictive as you want or as relaxed. So we can restrict it by the file hashes. This is going to ensure that if the file was changed or if it's a new update or different version of this application, the rule is not going to apply and it won't elevate. But sometimes, especially with like applications like QuickBooks, they do need updates all the time. Um, what you can do is open up this rule a little bit. So you can use something called subject elements. This is going to allow you to make sure that this is still safe and verified by the vendor. It's the legit application, but it's not as restrictive as the file hash. And then here you could also, let's say we don't care what version of this application is, we can go ahead and just wildcard that information as well. That way any version of that application will trigger and elevate. One other thing, so we do have something called Blocker. Blocker is one of our newer features, and it will empower you to lock machines further down and restrict those native Windows applications I mentioned before. These, again, are used to do living off the land attacks. So taking native Windows applications and trying to see what they can do with it. Shut off um, security tools, gain access to other files spread throughout the environment. Now, this will evaluate the systems for you and ensure that we're not blocking anything that shouldn't be blocked. And it will actually recommend what to block. And you can quickly just create the rules based off that. And the applications we're looking at right now, it's a curated list, about 207 that we're protecting against. And if I just pull up this Microsoft article, you'll see right here, even Microsoft recommends that you block the following applications because an attacker can use these to circumvent app control. So it's really something that's a security gap that we can help solve. Now that I've gone over the platform and kind of how it works, I do want to show you this in action. So from an end user's perspective, what happens when I do need to update an application that requires admin privilege. So staying with the Java example, if I go ahead and run that download, you'll see quickly that AutoElevate is going to examine the file and throw in those credentials. Now, what just happened is in the backend, it's doing a 127 character password creation, encryption, and double rotation. So it's super safe, super secure. It's just in time elevation to bypass UAC, and then it's back to blocking things that shouldn't be elevated. Easily how you can control what applications end users can install, update, what settings they can change, and then what happens if there's no rule in place. So I'm going to try to install Steam, play video games on my work laptop here, and I didn't realize it's going to be captured. They're going to get a pop-up as an end user. This is going to allow them to take a pause and say, "Hey, this requires admin privilege. Do you want to continue?" Now they can submit it as a ticket. We do integrate with most PSA systems. We can do email integrations, and we actually do have a neat mobile app on a phone. So that's what actually I'm going to use right now to elevate this. So I'm pulling up my phone right here. I promise I'm not texting. I'm going to click yes, submit. I just got a push notification on my phone, and then I'm going to approve it, maybe just this one time for the example. So they'll get this pop-up saying, hey, it's been granted for this one time. proceed with installation. So if I click OK, you'll see it's going to examine and do that whole process of the over-the-shoulder admin account. And now they can continue. So that's what it looks like from an end user's perspective. But we do recommend not only your end users to be demoted down to standard, but also you as a technician or your security team. So if you don't have an admin account or privilege, you don't use that shared admin accounts, how are you going to do work on these machines with elevated access? That's where technician mode and just-in-time admin login is going to come into play. Starting off with technician mode, you can enable that with the hotkey Control Alt A, or you can just trigger another event. Let's say I need to run command prompt as an admin. And within that little pop-up, you'll see this at the bottom corner, technician mode. Now this is only for technicians to use, end users can't use this. And what I'm going to do is just go ahead and quickly scan this with the mobile app that's provided. This is going to act as a two-factor authentication and make sure that I'm authorized to use this and elevate. So I'm going to pull up the mobile app, scan the QR code, and now I'm elevated in technician mode. There's no need to go generate generate the account or the codes and plug it in. There's no need to have standing privilege for a certain amount of time. This is truly just for this session and that's it. So if I actually go back in here and attempt to run command prompt as administrator again, you'll see something a little bit different. Now on the right hand side, I'm going to have this magnetized bar to UAC, and it's going to allow me to quickly check computer security controls, app security, and then have the option to elevate either as that randomly generated admin account that we provide or as the signed in user. Sometimes you do need to elevate in the context of a user in order to access like profiles, settings, or files that's part of that user, or network resources. For here, I'm just going to click admin elevation, does that rotation, and now I'm elevated as an admin. I can do what I need to do here, and once I'm done, just close out that session and turn off technician mode. Now, this is great once we are in the system and it's already unlocked, but we do also have the ability to access a machine as a local admin. So if the machine's locked, it's after hours, or the end user is just not available to log in, you'll have this new sign-in credential. Now you can adjust this logo here, you can change the word of it, but really this essentially is going to be the same as just-in-time admin login or technician mode. You just scan the QR code and this will build a local admin account, log you in as that admin, and then once you're done doing what you need to do and you log out, it will actually purge that account and clean up those user profiles. That's pretty much the whole rundown of Auto Elevate. Just a quick demo of how this works and how a PAM solution can really solve a lot of the issues and security or attack vectors that are out there. Hope everyone found this valuable. I know if you have any questions, you can definitely reach out. But yeah, that's about it.
All right, Jonathan, great job. We do have a couple minutes for questions here, so why don't we fire through two or three of those?
Okay.
Want to say great presentation. Also love the demo. Love being able to kind of see it in action, and I'm sure the audience did as well. We got lots of comments there, so.
Yep.
But yeah, okay. So first question I've got in the queue: what does the implementation process look like for Auto Elevate, and how long does it typically take to get up and running?
Um, Fairly simple. We try to keep it as straightforward as possible. So, Auto Elevate is a lightweight agent-based solution. You can push that out to your whole environment within minutes using RMM tools, PowerShell scripting, GPO policies. So you got quite a bit of options there. And the time to get up and running really depends on the complexities of the environment. You can get up and running as quickly as 1 week, or you can really take your time. We have something called an audit period, which allows you to not affect the end user's environment just yet, but collect those events, build those rules, have that foundation in place before you rip away those admin privileges. That can usually take around 2 to 3 weeks.
Nice. That sounds great. So pretty speedy overall, and a little bit of a learning curve built into it. So that's awesome.
Super easy. Yep.
Someone else asked here, where's the Auto Elevate agent hosted, and what are the system requirements for deployment?
It's locally based, so we host it right on the machine. Requirements has to be a Windows machine at this time, because everything's predicated off that UAC event. Um, Workstation versions like Windows 10, 11, uh, servers as well. So 2016, 2019, several of those. So, yep, but it's on the machine.
Okay, perfect. Last question, I think, just because we're pushing up against time. What are your contract length options, and do you offer flexible terms or standard agreements only?
Yeah, we're pretty flexible. So we do month to month contracts. You also have annual agreements that can be paid monthly or annually. The biggest thing I do want to emphasize is we don't lock you in a multi-year contract and we'll never raise your prices. So once you're locked in and you have a certain price, we'll keep you at that price.
Nice. Sweet. Well, any final words, or if people are really excited, they want to take some next steps, where should they go? What should they do?
Yeah, I've had the QR code up, so if you haven't scanned that already, that will bring you to a demo page where you can sign up for one of these and see the product more in depth and have that conversation. Also, cyberfox.com, just reach out, check us out, and let us know if you have any questions. We're happy to help.
Awesome. Great. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming on today, and I'm excited to be able to see you back soon and pick your brain a little bit further.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Mackenzie. Thank you, everyone.
Cheers.